Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from a very wet Central Florida area. Thoughts go out to everybody with the hurricane there. I've got some family RDV that's up there in the North Carolina area. Everybody's kind of cool and all that. We're going to be talking about Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 3 tonight. You know, RDV, I like to tell everybody, starting off, usually for the most part, that I'm broadcasting from, just west of Orlando, Florida in Extreme Studios, which is, of course, located in the Pine Hills Palace. But I wanted to expand on something that goes back a bit of the ways. You see, here in the hood, back in the day, in my group as a young 80s teenager, I was known as the BMX racer guy. So I get a little bit of sadness, a little bit of ennui, a little bit of boredom, a little je ne sais quoi, whatever you want to call it when we do 80s movies. So when we do Gleaming the Cube with skateboarding or Rad with bikes and all that, I feel it's great because sometimes I feel like when you decide to do adult things, you turn into an adult. So right before this episode that we're getting ready to talk about, I hopped onto Twitter to get some of the comments we've had on our recent videos, which, by the way, are looking really good. And I can't help but get absorbed into the world of cyclists versus cars. Because in my adult world now, I still like to use my BMX. I've never put on the cyclist thing. No, here's the point. The cyclists always lose, but they have a certain amount of arrogance in them. So I like it when people play at being adults. How is that important to tonight's episode? I'm going to tell you, sir.
Well,
Hold on. Time out.
No, because it's about cyclists. I gotta make a comment about that. If you're gonna start talking about cyclists or his car, we're gonna watch Paul Rudd and this is 40.
So I don't understand that reference, but I'm sure it exists and it's probably pretty good. But the point is that absolute absurdity and stupidity that cyclists seem to have, it's amazing to me, and it never gets old watching them fail and get busted up every single time. I love it. And here in the richer areas of Central Florida, we have great Olympic level training facilities, including that. But I hate when I'm doing some consulting work on the weekends and I'm driving and I have to wait 20 minutes because I've got 400 cyclists that refuse to give me a lane on the road. And I just hope that somebody would come in like a gator and bite them and kill them and die. That's another movie. Tulsa King, Season 2, Episode 3. This movie is deceptive. How is it deceptive? Because we wanted to watch this show, not because it's Tyler Sheridan and the 14,000th show he's created. It's because Stallone's in it in his advanced age, a guy we like. The show's been pretty fun and interesting. This episode is just like a nice little campy kind of soap opera. There's even some yucks and shenanigans in here, which I really popped hard for, and I normally never do. But like all cyclists, they're very, very arrogant, like we get here in the show. At the end, we get something very, very serious. We're boom, right out of nowhere. This is finally a great episode that ends strong, just like our Season 2, Episode 4, The Old Man ended, which means ends up with a cyclist dead on the ground or severely injured. So there's a parallel to it, sir, and I wanted to share that with you because I know, like you care about seeing cyclists get destroyed. In this case, it's want to be second-level thugs for the other gangster going up against Stallone. What do you think?
I think you need to stop mentioning cyclists. I'm going to start turning it into a drinking game. He mentioned like 40 times cyclists.
That's called priming the audience, sir, by repeating.
How about we go into the episode instead of just having an
give it to me. Give it to me.
This whole third episode was decent. This was written by Taylor, Sheridan. He actually wrote this because believe it or not, for people who do not look up the IMDb stuff, or just blindly watch shows, not everything is written by the same person for each episode.
They rarely are.
No, there aren't. The only consistent person here has been Joseph Riccobene. Terence Winter's on this, and then also Taylor Sheridan also took writing credits in this. Basically, it's honestly this is basically what was building up in the first episode. He had a court date. Well, now today is the day of the court date. But that's not the only thing that's happening now because before from the first episode, building up and then into the second episode, now we're getting the third episode. There's been so many little subplots going on. Chickie wanting to get Goodie to turn on Dwight, and we're like, is he going to? We saw that at the end of the first episode, he kind of like he had like a phone call. He's like, I don't know, and then so he was actually that was last week's episode. Yeah, sorry. And then going into this, and I gotta say, the standout character on this show is not Dwight Manfredi's Stallone. Stallone's great, but it is the guy who plays Mitch is Garrett Hedlund. They've been giving him this season, allowing him to go up there because he's a He's a bar owner, but he's also been doing some country songs, So then again, this he did Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top on there, and that set a subplot, or might be a subplot continuing on. I don't know if it ended here, but he's up on stage. The guy's looking good. He knows he looks good. He's up there having fun.
He's Brad Pitt minus 20 pounds from 7.
He's better than Brad Pitt has ever been. Sorry.
Brad Pitt's more handsome.
Brad Pitt's like Val Kilmer. Like, he's okay, but that's about it. No, anyway, beside the point. So he's up there, and Dwight's daughter, is making comments like,
she's wet.
Oh, really? Got to go that vulgar? This is a kid show.
As few syllables as I could.
No. So basically, she's got a thing for him now. She makes a comment to Dwight's sister, which is a great addition to the show. She only had a small part in the first season, but now that she's actually staying on as a main, is actually been really cool. So they have a quite a large cast of rotating mains that are on the show, and they're handling it well, because normally people just get lost in the shovel,
like Chickie.
So, yeah,
you'd almost forget he's a part of it.
Well, yeah, unless they show him, yeah.
Right.
But honestly, though, that's good. They're teasing with Chickie. They're not, something's gonna happen. Chickie's gonna. I guarantee at the end of this series, whenever it ends, Chickie's gonna die. It's gonna be Dwight that kills him, or someone else is gonna bump him off. But anyway, so we got some major players. We got Neal McDonough's character. Is it Cast Thresher, who basically goes, basically wants to get along. We find out he has a crush on Dana Delaney in this episode's character, and she rejects him, and then especially after he insults Dwight, and she's like, he's got more masculinity in that pinky ring than you have your whole entire body. He's kind of like frustrated. So because she's like, I'm done talking to you. She says, she talked to my horse manager over there, and that's Armand. And wanting to get back at Dwight because Dwight actually wins his court case. And I'm gonna tell you, let's talk about this. The court case, he goes in there. He basically goes in, he appeals. He called, at first they're like, we don't know what's going on, but he calls up Stacy, and she shows up on the stand, and he sets the record to the jury. He's like, we have a relationship, we were friends, we fooled around, slept together, and he does his favorite play. He's like, I'm not trying to insult you, whatever, but this is what go. And basically, what we had was not a bribery; it was a quid pro quo. It's the thing. Thanks for saving my life, And so, and of course, the jury buys it. He gets off, and and some people, as I say, this is kind of like too easy, but I'm like, it's not a very serious show. There's a comedy aspect to it, so I can. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'll allow it because it's a Stallone show. It's not like you're not getting getting a Law and Order, but even Law and Order, I said, like a lot of these shows, the court case shows, they're not accurate ever.
No, and you know what? All these procedurals are out there, have the same template and everything, which is fine. But you know what it reminds you of? It reminds you of cyclists because they're annoying. This show's not annoying.
You and your cyclist. I'll get you a shirt.
And look,
yeah,
Stacy in here, when she gets called in as a surprise witness, because I got to admit, the thing I like least about this episode was him representing himself in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he calls Stacy in and he walks it through, the thing with Stallone that I do like is that when he has a scene, he makes it easier for you to understand what's going on without getting too technical, to kind of show off and say, see all these 50-cent words I could use. He leads you through, hey, we had some good times together. We were intimate. We did it again. You took a bullet for me. Therefore, it's not quid pro quo. Also, and also because they can't prove that the $1 million thing on the flash drive or whatever, can't prove it anyway. Yeah. Just might as well, whatever. The fact that they kind of brought her in and we weren't expecting it, I think was good foreshadowing of what was going to happen at the end, which we'll save. I thought she looked kind of crazy hot in here. I think this is the best she's looked. And I still tell you, I feel like she's going to be a player here. And I'd mentioned before that she's, I think, going to be realizing, wait a minute, these fuckers, I did take a bullet for him. I'm going to get me some back when she gets a little whatever. I don't know what that thing that's going to be to check off the box or click in the gear. I don't think this season or this TV show is done with her.
I think they might be done with her. Like I said, this was her way of getting back at them by going up on agreeing to go up on there and
perhaps
all your stories off.
You may be
You know,
right.
even though she's embarrassed, she knew her career was over to begin with. You know, but the
She's
fact
being
that
transferred, was it to Alaska?
that's Alaska of all places, yeah. You
Yeah.
know,
So it's like, does something happen before she gets transferred? We'll see.
I think because basically she found out she got Dwight told her they used you, they humiliated you. It's like, you know, and she hates him at the end of this. You know, he's like, she's done. She tells him she transfers, leaving. She may come back, but I don't see a way to write her back in. You know, but like I said, that's going on with that. He wins a court case. We get this. The joke for this week is the house that he bought.
May I please talk about this too? Go ahead.
There's a
I
house.
loved it.
There's a house association thing.
The HOA, the dreaded HOAs.
Oh my God.
Association, guys.
It said just when the show cannot top itself being even more funny, addressing the stupid stuff. The first season was all about pronouns and all the crap and all over. This time it's all about house association, how useful it is. This guy comes in his little electric car. It looks like the Urkel-mobile. Drives into the thing and he says, "Well, you've had your garage open for the past 20 minutes, you know, it's a charge. So I'm going to give you a fine here." And then the next day he shows up. He gives Dwight another fine because he has trash overflowing, you know. And he's like, it's trash. It's where it belongs. It's supposed to be uncouth or unseemly, like looking, or like, you know, it's what it's supposed to be. So I love this. So, and Dwight holds this. Dwight could easily just knock the guy out, but he holds his own because he doesn't want to get any more legal trouble. So he goes inside. His daughter gives he's like, "Where's the lazy boy I wanted? I wanted one with the cup holder." He's like us. I just want a cup holder. And since she's got this ugly ass business looking like chair, like an office chair, and he's like, "What the heck? I don't see myself sitting down drinking beer." And she's like, "Well, Dad, you're not the kind of guy to sit in a recliner of beer." He's like, "You know, but I could be." You know, it's like
that's not the point.
But that right there, that line, the way he acts, that's a Stallone line. Like, I guarantee Stallone he's like, "No, I'm ad-libbing this a little bit." Right. But so I like that. Everything's going on with that. We also got other situations and all. Like I said, Mitch had overheard Goodie in the beginning of this episode at the bar, talking to Chickie, and he's just sitting there because they talked about how, first of all, because Mitch was sitting behind the bar writing on lyrics, and Goodie's asking how he comes up with it. He's like, you know, good bad days. And they said, "Bitch," then Goodie gets a phone call from Chickie saying, "Hey, have Dwight just go outside, you know, have him, you know, basically do this, you know, it'll be good, you know, don't worry about it." So he had two phone calls from Chickie. Chickie was the second one telling him to have Dwight go outside the bar, and he'll be fine, you know. Incidentally, they're gonna whack him, you know. But the first phone call, because Mitch is there, he's like, "Well," it's like, you know, it's like, "What was that about?" It's like, you know, it's like, and then Goodie lies that, like, and he does the panic, like, you know, like lying, you know, kind of shaking up, get defensive easily, and you can tell Mitch kind of like picks up, and he's like, "Well, that's not an insurance call, telemarketer. Wow, that was a long 4 syllables, you know." And so implying, you know, and like so I wonder if Mitch is onto him, you know, but we don't know. We won't find out. But
the real tell is that he's like, "Man, I was just joking," and they keep the camera on him, and he goes back to what he was doing, but then his eyes look up like he's watching, considering what's going on, and then they cut away. That was a good scene.
Because Mitch is Dwight's right hand man, not Goodie. Because you can't trust Goodie, because Goodie came from Chickie. So despite this, okay, that's going on. So obviously we get Frank Grillo's character comes in this episode. We finally get to see him and Dwight face to face.
This is good.
After the court case, you know, Goodie says, "Hey, he's been here," like, you know, and like Dwight's like, "What?" Like for 30 minutes, you know. So he's sitting there. You got Frank Grillo, and then you got another guy named Carl, who basically is a stooge. You know, he's, you know, tries to speak up, and Frank, you know, and Stallone still tells him to shut the hell up. No one's talking to you, you little bitch. And like, the men are talking. So, and well, because Dwight had moved into Tulsa, you know, he's like, well, Frank's character is like, you know, Bill. He's like, "Hey, I want to cut a taste of what you got going here." He's like, it's funny. He's like, you know, you didn't give 2 shits about this land until I came in, and he's like, you know, and I started doing stuff here. He's like, you know, and he's like, "I'm not trying to build something. I did build something, and I'll continue to build." Basically telling him, he's like, "I don't give 2 shits about what you are. I don't work." And he's like, I don't work for Chickie. and I'm my own made man, and it's like, he tells him to go, F himself. Frank Grillo upset because he's not getting his way. A little diva walks out of the bar. And
You know what? I'm glad you said it, because
Yeah.
we got used to him seeing him kind of almost as like a wrangler, like a stud kind of guy. And it
Yeah.
seemed like within about a question or two, he was on a defensive. And I'm like,
Yes.
I thought he could
Yes.
have played it a little cooler, but he definitely let Dwight get to him. And I thought that made him a little bit weak to me.
So we already, he was already weak before. He was talking to Chickie and stuff, calling him up and stuff. His conversation was kind of like, it's like Chickie talking to himself. They're both kind of pushovers. That's the vibes I got from Frank Grillo's character. But so he leaves. He said, I'll send Carl back, at the offer. He's like, whatever.
I'm willing to listen.
So,
And
like I
that's
said,
your cyclist.
eventually, like, they're all having like a Dwight at the end of the episode. Dwight's having a party at the bar and stuff. Dana Delaney's there too. Have a good time. He's allowing her to win money there because let's keep the lady happy. Let her win some money. Makes a joke about how it's beer. You're bad for business. How about we cut you off here? I'll be broke by the end of the night. So he's flirting with her. Dwight is confronted by Goodie. Says, "Hey, Carl's out there." And this is after shortly earlier before that Chickie got a phone call saying like, "Hey, just all I got to do is leave Dwight out and let him go out there." So this is the moment. Will Goodie betray Dwight? He goes out there, and I love it because of like the tense. You're like, oh my gosh, like what's happening. So and Dillian Delay's like, where are you going? He's like, and then I got to take care of something. A fire marshal here, whatever. It's like whatever. And he even lies to his sister. Stallone does. So he goes out there. You say Carl. Carl's got a gun, and he's
Carl's
like, "What's going on?"
a gun.
And then you see, of course, you see Goodie out of nowhere. He pops a switchblade and stabs him in the gut. Stabs not Stallone, but Carl.
Yeah.
And showing his loyalty. It's like, oh my god! It's like because they really wanted you to believe that Goodie was going to betray him, and maybe Goodie was thinking about it until Mitch started catching on. He didn't want to, deal with that. Because
go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish up.
I was going to say because Dwight has a lot of loyal people there.
Yes.
So I don't think they would have followed Goodie at all, and he probably thought about weighed the pros and the cons, and it was better to stay with Dwight.
Well, unfortunately, I was going to say that some of the things in this episode that I didn't like are kind of related to some of these things. So, like, we enjoy watching Stallone, but again, at the beginning of the episode, they did a good job of springing Stacy on you, literally. And at the end, we didn't know what was gone, so they spring this on you. It was done well, technically, the way it was delivered. You're like, okay. But here's the problem with these is, I liked how they show that there's this possibility over a couple episodes that he's going to turn, right? Yeah. And then I always forget the dude's name, the guy going through divorce, the guy I kind of hate. Armand. But then this episode, I kind of felt for him a little bit because of a situation where they have a brief scene about him getting fucked, right? And I get it. So I like how they're trying to say, you know what? You may have a crew, but which one of them can you really trust? So I wish the temptation was just a bit stronger. I wish they amplified it slightly here, because honestly, the biggest letdown in this episode to me was the two big things to it. I thought the show would have been 100% more interesting when I'd been like, shit, yeah, I can't wait to talk about this. Mm-hmm. If he was found guilty and was going to go back to jail like in 2 weeks or a month or whatever when they go to sentence him, and the rest of the season would be like, well, shit, we didn't see that coming. How do we get out of this, or how do we make it right? Rather than him like defending himself and beating a guy that's a DA, and even a bad DA usually is going to beat somebody defending himself, and most places would not allow that to happen. So I just thought that was kind of farcical, and that we knew there's 0% chance that he was going to do it. It makes the other exactly. I didn't like that, and I didn't like here at the end that, again, I'm not saying he should have gotten stabbed, but to me there was no sense of danger he was going to be in. And I've said to you before, Stallone's at his best and the show's at his best when you feel like there's these different factions coming at him, and they're all bigger than him, maybe slightly unknown the depths of them, and you go, wow, he's got a small crew that's really unproven. Even their loyalty has only been mildly tested. They're basically B-level thugs stealing catalytic converters and stuff. They're not. There's not smart businessmen, and all these people are getting fucking, outwitted by this schlub. I'm just not buying that part of it. I love Stallone.
I will say this: as far as Goodie was actually set up pretty well as far as whether he's betrayed or not, because the fact that he is loyal to Stallone, but Stallone also treats him with respect.
Agreed.
Yeah. So unlike Armand, Stallone doesn't give two shits about him. He just wants him to pay his money.
Yes.
Over it. And so Armand, and starting with the first episode when we meet Cal Thresher, like at the party, she was always like, he's drunk. Armand's drunk. When we see Armand this episode, though, Armand is basically going through divorce. He's meeting with the divorce lawyer and his wife, and then she's basically throwing it. She's like, you chose that piece of shit over us. You brought him at home and you put a gun in your head. That's when you stopped being my husband. So it's like, and he really wanted to reach across, and basically you can tell he's struggling. He really wanted to beat the crap out of her. But at
it was a great scene. I really enjoyed it. It's the best thing I've seen him.
He caves. He says, you know what? Give her what she wants. And like, so whatever. He's like, because she just wanted basically him to have supervised parental visits, basically like, so
which is bullshit.
Which is bullshit. And honestly, I kept thinking, like, why doesn't he have like a guy lawyer? Because that's the thing about thing. Guys go through divorce, they're not always the bad person in the relationship. Sometimes they're the good person. Sometimes they're the victim. Sometimes it's the mother. That's the.
But whatever the reasons, you've got money, you've got assets, you would have a lawyer there with you.
So basically, yes. So she's got the house, whatever. He's paying alimony or child support, and and he's got visitations every other weekend. So he's already irritated as the heck. But he says, you know what, I'm done. And so then when Cal Thresher basically calls him, he gets a phone call and he's like, here, come over here. He's like, what? And I knew right away when he got a phone call, because after Cal sees him, Armand, and he's like, he clicks too. They never really showed Armand being seen by Cal Thresher at the party because he was outside. He was drunk and he sent home first. He didn't go inside.
Right.
So Cal, probably being what the person he is pissed off because the DA lost the case. And he wants, here's another angle. He goes after, calls in Armand, preys on him. He's like, oh, what's your deal with Dwight? He's like, oh, I'm in up the eyes of my debt. He's like, hey, I've been there before. He's like, but it's
he's
like
very charming in the scene. I thought this was good.
This is his characters he plays. Which I love about it. I don't care if it's stereotypical for this actor, but I love it though, because he goes up. He's like, here. He pulls out this box out of his drawer, metal bin.
Petty cash.
I love this. This is so great. It's such a power move too. And the camera angle where he's sitting back, you don't even see his face. You just see the suit tie and go down, and then it's out of focus. Is the money on the table? Everything else.
That stacks of cash. Yell.
Oh, and that is. I love that. That's to me when they do shots like that. You talk about the old man when she's hiding behind the desk and you see the feet walking up.
Yeah, that was such a good shot.
That reminds me of the Michael Mann when you watched what was it, Thief, or you watched Miami Vice.
Miami Vice.
I love this. It's such a fantastic camera angles, everything. So he's like, dude, here's 30. Like, how much do you owe Dwight? And how much you need? Is he's probably about 18 grand, but that's like $1 million. But he's like, here's 30 grand. I'm just. He's like, well, he's like, why are you doing this? He's like, well, everybody needs a friend. I got a friend, and that's how I got past. So I'm gonna be your friend, And he can, whenever I need a favor, eventually, it's like you just pay me back. That's all, Yeah. So he's gonna So he's like, he's just staring at the money, and you see him. He's just so grief-stricken. And then, like I said, when we get back to the bar later on, when the party is like Dwight celebrating, Armand shows up. He hears 10 grand. He's like, how do you get that? He's like, oh yeah, I guess sometimes I got good days, sometimes I got bad days, So Dwight's kind of like, okay. I don't know if Dwight knows it all, but I mean, like
he has to, doesn't he?
He knows
the way he knew what was going on today, even though the writers tried to psych us out. We knew there was no way going to be it. That's not very good on the writers' part, in my opinion. Make us believe that there's a chance it could go either way. He's got to know.
Well,
we'll see.
We'll find out. Like I said, so my point is, we knew Armand was gonna obviously, because he's so antagonized by Dwight, he hates, and his life's falling apart. He's gonna betray him. Goodie, I had no idea at the end, because I've seen shows where basically someone does get, where Stallone would get shanked in the back. He wouldn't get shot, but he would get stanked or whatever, but he'd still survive. And shit goes sideways. So I've come across all those shows, and so I really had no idea. I mean, obviously they're not going to kill off Stallone, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets injured and he's in the hospital for something because he gets stabbed or whatever and survives. I know, and I think that when that comes to the point where he actually does get injured, that'll be towards the end of the series when his empire is falling down.
Yeah,
and then burning. Because it's like we talked about Scarface. You go so high and then eventually you burn out.
Yeah.
You know. So like you said, this is a really good show. Also, he finally Stallone's character Dwight finally sleeps with Dana Delaney's character. They finally, they shut the end episode. He's leaving her house and he's got what's his name? Jay's Tyson picking him up. The other thing too I kind of liked about this is that they do still have some of all the other characters in here and all, as far as Bodie and Tina, and Grace and a few of the other ones, like I said, they are keeping me in there, and obviously Bodie is running the shop because he's like, why are you late? Are you late? Because like, well, somebody had to close the shop,
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, so it is they're just like this throwing away. It's like, hey, this episode, this person's not in it whatsoever. They are giving him a small role. They'll let you know that these people are still here because they still do matter.
Yes.
And
there's planting the seeds for where this can go to, so we're just not going, oh, that's an abrupt turn.
Other big thing we got to talk about, and it might be minor, but Mitch goes up and he's like, hey, you remember that car guy? Well, he's thinking about moving to Florida. It's like maybe good investments and launder some more money. And he's like, well, I like what he says, like, well, what would you call it? I'd call it, general, auto body, whatever. He's like, and like, oh, someone's like, what about General Motors? You think they'll mind? But like, he said, call it the General. We'll call it the General if we call it the place.
That's an insurance company, though, so they can't do that.
Yeah, I know. I know, whatever. But I mean, but anyway, so I guess in future episodes we might see the car dealership being used for fronting more.
Absolutely, without question.
So,
and I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So I like they're expanding their business. They got the bar, they have the weed farm, they're getting the wind power, the grant, and then they're gonna have the auto dealership, So he keeps expanding his empire little by little, and so I'm curious, see what's gonna happen next. Obviously, Tyson steps up at the end of this after they kill Carl, and they're gonna go to jump the body off, and Tyson says, "I want to go," and Stallone's at first is like, "Fine, go," and they jump the body off the garbage bag, and you see, and you don't see when they jump it off. All I know is we see Bill, Frank Grillo's girl driving up into these gates. They open up these fancy rich gates, motorized, open up. They have the letters on there and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Opens up, and he stops his Jeep, and you're like, "What is this?" And like you see the body wrapped up, and he cuts it open. He sees thing, and inside there is the menu, and he's like, so basically, Stallone's like,
because he shit on him about not taking his ribs for the road.
Take spare ribs, yeah. so I mean, it leaves a bitter taste in his mouth, but I mean, like, so there's a lot of little parts moving in this series, which I do appreciate. I know I've never watched Yellowstone or even tried to watch Yellowstone. Maybe I will one day, but I mean, I've just been happy with the Old Man and Tulsa King so far. Looking forward to see where these shows are going. The Old Man is, like I said, it's another drama, and it's with consequences. This show has consequences too. Honestly, we got the weed farm. We might possibly have the automotive place. We got the bar. It's just like watching Grand Theft Auto with Stallone.
Well, it's a bit much in the sense that it's only, I think, 8 episodes a season, so it's only 8 hours of writing.
So, yeah.
So you can flesh a lot of this out, so it looks like you can juggle not just a major A or B thread and maybe some C and D ones, some minor ones too.
I hope
they have more characters, but you almost forget they have a weed business. Except for they have a few scenes, and you're like, oh yeah, these are the people that are in this weed business. Oh, what weed business? It's like, well, I know we have one, but you don't feel that it's important because you're not seeing it, you're not hearing about it growing. It's just there. Because let's be honest, the whole wind farm thing, I thought that was kind of an interesting idea, especially with today's topics of possibly going to, cleaner energy and certain things and government mandates and all that. But unless you've been reminded they're doing it, it's not there. So I just feel at Sheridan, like in Yellowstone, you just try to juggle all these things here, but nothing's really moving because you got so many pieces. You can only move them 1 inch at a time. You can't, you know what I'm saying?
So the first season they showed the actual farm. They did deal with the guy on the Indian reservation, but the last episode they were having a party at the place, the thing. So they still to tell you, this episode didn't show anything like that. Didn't show the weed place how high, because they had their grand opening last episode. So it's still to mention, it's just it wasn't really important this episode. That's all. But they did show you a weed farm, Cal Thresher's farm, because remember he's making deals with the Chinese. So when he got a phone call that Dwight basically won his court case, you saw how that one Chinese guy looked up and he's like, and he knows something's wrong.
Right.
So the Chinese are going to go after Dwight.
Absolutely.
Or they might turn on Cal and just be the new ruler and then go after Dwight.
Is it too much to ask for Bolo Young?
Right. He kind of. I guess he probably kind of fit in this. He kind of. I'm not sure how muscular still he is. But
he is.
But man. Honestly,
Manfredi, it's like I say, the episode is. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. The past couple episodes, though, together, like we said, the first episode really got you back and reminded you of what was going on in the first episode. And I go, I just don't feel it building, and I don't have a problem with that. To me, it's almost like a telenova. It's a certain level of campiness, and I expect it, and I'm having fun with it. And then they, the scene at the end where everyone's kind of looking at him like, "Hey, you're getting ready to die, bro," and he's lying to everybody. And he steps out because he knows what's going on. That's cool, but it's hard in a way because I think Sheridan's popping himself right in this, or the people he has it by all these sub things going on rather than driving the main story. And in Yellowstone, if you go to watch it, for example, pretty intense show. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. It's not for kids. It's definitely an adult thing. But at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, all these people might have a major issue or might be doing something illegal or questionable or morally compromised or whatever. But why do I give a fuck? Who do I want to root? At least here, I would like to say I appreciate seeing Stallone because I feel like he is an actor. He's having fun doing it. He's enjoying it. He doesn't have to do it. Mm-hmm. I think the people around him enjoy him. I just wish there's a little bit more tension as far as feeling like him and his crew are in danger. And I also would like to feel a little bit more of that paranoia from his crew, like you can't maybe trust some of them or you don't know. And the thing with his driver and his driver's dad too, where we saw some of that last week, nothing this week. And it's like,
yeah, Tyson's dad last week. Yeah. And Tyson.
Yeah. I just figure when you're a guy like him and you've been in prison for 25 years, whatever it's been, you come out, even though you know how to have a group and you run a group, this is a new group.
So
I get your fish out of water, but I just feel like it's too easy for him. Like he's not being challenged, not by all the external agents that want to do him harm, but by his own group and staying on top of them. That's all. It's like, yeah, you guys just give me money. That's it. Oh, you're doing this. Okay, that's cool. Okay, you're doing that.
Well,
it's a little too light.
Well,
not
he's
in a bad way, but I'm just not feeling that. Like I said, that sense of danger.
I don't really think he has a danger from any of his crew because he treats them well. Chickie is the opposite of Dwight. He's a coward and he treats everyone like shit. Where Dwight actually he emboldened and lifted up his the people that are served with him. Grace, right. Remember she used to be a paranoid mess. Cleaned her up. Now she's now a manager of the and just like I said, like he helped out Bodie. Bodie at first didn't like him either. Like I said, he's won the respect. That's one thing like it's really cool seeing about this. So, yeah. Goodie was always like questionable because Goodie is about the same age as Dwight or right around that gap. He's a self-made man, just like the general. So if anybody would have betrayed him, it would have been him. Because it made the most sense. Mm-hmm. But Armand, being a little, he's a Joe Pesci type. He's a little
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't trust him. He's like Vinny. My cousin Vinny. I don't trust the guy. He's a weasel.
What now? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it made sense because this is the guy that tried to bump off Stallone. And so Stallone turned around and made him his personal bitch. Went to his home, pulled a gun in his house in front of his wife, and says, "You're gonna pay me, every month, whatever, a week, whatever, this amount of money, as insurance money for allowing me to basically allow you to live, So like I said, if anybody's gonna betray him, it would be Armand. I'd sense. I'm trying to think. There was one more thing that we didn't touch on in this episode, but overall, like I said, it's I had fun with this. I really have no problem with this. The reason I say that because this is the show I could turn on, and I'm not instantly like checking my phone because I'm bored, waiting for it to be over. You know,
It's engaging. Enough. It really is
engaging, and that's all I really ask for. I'm easy to please. I don't need like super like like a mind thriller, like okay, who's did this murder mystery stuff. If I want to do that, I'll go. There's shows like that. There's a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
It was instant. I love for that, but I don't need every show to be like that. So I'm okay with this, and like I said, whether Sheridan is writing it or somebody else, I've actually just been enjoying this. And like I said, it's fun to have Stallone. Stallone doesn't need to do this. He could easily just walk away.
Yep.
And it's not like I'm watching the Stallone Discovery Channel or whatever you call Learning Channel where it's like, hey, we're gonna behind the scenes, or the Kardashians. This is entertaining. He's still got his daughter working at the ranch. She was approached by Cal Thresher in this episode too. So
yeah, I did notice that and thought that was cool. I thought actually the best scene in here, but again, when I thought Frank's when they were having to sit down, I thought this character was a little weak. Like I said, I felt like he kind of lost the verbal battle too easy, which I was a little surprised at. But obviously Stallone was escalating, but the line he says to his number two guys when they're in the middle of it, when the guy says something, he looks at him and he goes, "Nobody's talking to you." I'm like, damn it, Stallone can do that on one fucking line and make you go, all right, he just won it, and it's like, okay. And so again, he's having fun with it, he's enjoying it. That's cool to see. It's just a little more tension. So I hope something develops out of his daughter's character, because I think they named the horse Cupcake, but they were doing something else. I want to see Cal be that charmer, but it's weird because I thought, I will admit this. Obviously, he's looking at Dana Delaney and going, hey, I want you some of that. But part of me is going, bro, I get what the character is supposed to be, but you could level up. I mean, come on, he's a good-looking dude. He's got money, but he seems like a butthurt high school boy. You won't go out with me. How are you going to go out with him? It's like you have a great introduction with him. You have him a great one-on-one with Stallone where he's very calm and composed, and you're like, fuck, this guy's going to be good heavy. Then he acts like a little bitch boy in here with all butthurt. I'm like, you're the last person that would act that way.
If you watch Justified, he did the same thing, same kind of character.
Bitched out a little bit.
Damian Mark are Dark and Arrow, same thing.
Okay,
it's a character he plays. He doesn't play the ultimate heavy.
So he's just doing what he does.
Yeah, he's just doing what he does.
Okay.
But I want to point out though, he's wearing a wedding ring in this. There's and it's on his hand, and like I said, and here he's hit on Delaney in front of her, and then you find out he's divorced, but I'm like, why are you still wearing the ring though? That's what. Again, maybe there's oversight in the writing, whatever.
I did not notice that, but that's not unintentional.
No. So maybe he is remarried. Who knows? Maybe maybe he's in the middle of the divorce. We don't know. We don't know. Or maybe it was just a goof up on because he wasn't supposed to be wearing his ring when he was filming, because he is married in real life.
That could happen. I just think when he's on stage, they put him in great positions to be successful, where they just show his face, like sitting at the power desk and doing the money thing and just focusing on his face, because his face is very stern. It's very powerful. The scene where he was actually outside with Dana, to me, he looked uncomfortable. And part of that's, of course, because he wants her. And I think he really does want her. I don't think he's trying to mess with her because he knows that she's interested in Stallone, right? So I think that's just one of those things where it's like almost like a flaw, like that's a weakness of his. Because obviously I was thinking Dana might have been working for him all along, but is intrigued by Stallone and might have been a baddie herself. Because let's face it, we need some baddies on the show. Because if you don't have a few baddies, what do you have? You know what you have? You have a bunch of cyclists that are getting hit and getting run over.
Yeah, it's like I said, Frank Grillo also plays kind of, if you watch the MCU stuff, I know you really watched that, but he played a character called Crossbones. Same kind of writing. He got, was a tough guy, and then he got beat up by Scarlett Johansson's character, Black Widow.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious because, well, in the comic books, it makes more sense because, she has, serum and all that stuff. But anyway, so he's never really been like the heavy type, he's kind of been like kind of the jokester stuff. If you watched Boss Level, great, another movie like this, he does the comedy stuff like stuff. So he's never he's not the super heavy. Like, you remember, this is not a deep, this isn't Sopranos. Like, this is a lighthearted version of Sopranos.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that being said, like I said, like, oh yeah, that's what I remember I was talking about. The House Associate member, after the news comes on about Dwight and Manfredi, connected to 2 murders, in the prisons, is found not guilty. And then he realized, oh shit! He runs over, drives a little car over, while Dwight's out there with his daughter and then his sister, and the guy, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Is he like, you know what? I was thinking, he basically apologized because he knows he doesn't want to get his ass kicked, and he realizes he's dealing with a gangster. So he basically caves, says, "Don't worry about the tickets, whatever you want. Do what you want to do."
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of humor at the end of the episode. They kind of they're like, because you're like, what's gonna go on with this? Because this guy keeps coming up, Even Tyson was kind of like, what the hell's with this jackass, So like I said, it's been cool. I've been liking the episodes.
Yeah. At first, I wasn't sure, but I've been enjoying it too. And I will close with this: the whole HOA president coming up on his electric kind of golf cartish vehicle. Florida, you could argue golf carts are an effective mode of transportation. There are retirement places that build that into their infrastructure, and I'm serious about that. So it's a thing, you can pimp them out and all that. But this guy coming up with this little electric one that hardly making a sound. I knew exactly what he was. This guy hit the nail on the head for the kind of coward HOA people are, and I popped hard. I thought, oh my God, could he milk this for a couple of episodes and angle this in a little bit where it just escalates, where they like get on him for the shrubbery or a noise violation or something like that? Or maybe the guy comes across a dead body and it's like, well, how am I going to write this up? I didn't know how they were going to do it, but they just teased me because they got rid of it in this episode. I was loving it because, like cyclists, HOA presidents are among the worst people on the planet.
All right.
Now I'm done picking on cyclists. So let's close up. We have a poll up, correct?
Yep.
All right, and we've got, was it Universal Horror Movies Part 2?
I feel like I have to zoom in or not, I don't know, but it was, my phone won't. I was hoping my phone would actually show up more.
Hold Still, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the third one is
The Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man. Yeah. So, guys, that's votes up there now. Right now, Creature from the Black Lagoon's starting to pull ahead. That looks really good right there. So yeah,
I've seen that. I was kind of hoping Hunchback of Notre Dame or The Invisible Man because I haven't seen either one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be a second time watch for me if the Hunchback or the Creature from the Black Lagoon wins. But like I said, I'm looking forward to watching stuff. And I know some people say, well, the Hunchback of Notre Dame isn't really a Universal horror monster. It's listed as horror romance. It's part of the early Universal stuff. So I like that. There's quite a few ones. There's even The Color Purple, some of the 1950s kind of stuff. Universal did a lot of different kind of like gore, not really gore, but horror stuff. So I'm looking forward to going through some of those. And like I said, whatever does not win this round, and we'll be going in a shuffle with the previous 2 losers. Yeah,
that's right.
We'll throw those in there in one of the weeks coming up. But like I said, go vote and check out the playlist. We got these. Our episodes are in a place where you can go watch them. If you say you're watching the first season of Tulsa King, you're watching this afterwards. Well, thank you. But with that being said, please click like, do all that cool stuff, and leave a comment down below. What do you think of this episode? What do you rate it? Because I personally, I thought it was pretty good, but I'll give it a 7 out of 10 because it could have been better. Compared to like the first 2 episodes.
I'm having fun with it. It was good. I could beat up on it wherever. I'm really not. So, it's just, it is what it is, and sometimes you just enjoy watching people have fun, right?
I mean, I'll just say this: I love Justified all the way through. And like I said, I have not watched The Wire, but that's where Chickie's from. He's from The Wire. Mm-hmm. And if you watch Jack Reacher season 2, he was the cop in there.
Yep.
So he's a phenomenal actor. So if you like Justified, you like The Wire, you like Bosch, check out The Old Man and check out Tulsa King. You'll probably like them as well.
Good night now.
Later, guys. I'll see you on Sunday.